Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us here on the Infinite Prosperity Podcast. My name is Louisa and I help high achievers, entrepreneurs and coaches lift the lid on life and business so that they can live at their highest value. Each episode we will bring you our favourite founders, CEOs and guest experts to share with you their insights and strategies to expand your wealth consciousness, your spiritual leadership and aligned business strategies. We know that living in alignment with your soul's mission is what fulfills you, and we are here to show you how to achieve this in an energetically aligned way. If you haven't already, be sure to claim your free abundance activation in the Akashic Records. Go to louisahavers.com/gift to unlock your abundance activation today. And if you'd like my support in having aligned success in life and business, then contact me at www.louisahavers.com and let's explore together if it's an aligned match. Get ready to live at your highest value and to expand into your next level of money as you elevate and receive more. You create more for others. Righty ho, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode. I am so excited to be having this conversation today around healing your sexual energy to align to your purpose and gifts with none other than Baljit. Rayat, Baljit, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited about our conversation. Baljit and I have known each other for 4 or 5 years now over the interwebs. Is it about? I know.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It feels longer though. I feel like I've known you for so long. Yeah.
Soul family. Yeah. Absolutely. So I'm so excited to welcome you to the Infinite Prosperity Podcast, and I'm going to share your bio because it's just phenomenal. So Baljit is a certified sexologist, authentic tantra practitioner, Akashic record consultant and teacher. That's how we know each other. Intuitive mentor and DJ. Her tunes are incredible. And producer. Baljit is committed to raising the vibration of humanity and has worked with thousands of people worldwide to up-level their lives by uncovering the truths of who they are to the core, creating profound results in their businesses and relationships. She believes everything in the world is energy, and getting to the root of desire by connecting people back to their sexual power causes a powerful ripple that spans all areas of life. Oh, Baljit! A huge welcome, a huge welcome.
Thank you.
What came first? Because there's so much here and I just love everything that you do. Yeah. Was it the DJing? Was it the Akashic Records? Was it sexologist? Tell us, how did you start, running your business? Yeah. And how did all the pieces come together?
Yeah. So my background was in architecture. I was an architectural technologist working in the industry for almost 7 years. And right before I left the industry, I had a bit of an awakening. I was going through depression. I had a panic disorder. And I knew I was really disconnected from my purpose and was living the Sex and City life in Toronto, but felt so disconnected. And through that awakening, I went through this process of searching for something more. And I found a woman that does like homeopathy, and then another woman that works with, that is a naturopathic doctor. And they helped me wean off my antidepressants as well. Because at the time I was taking antidepressants like barely, but I just was like, it kind of works, but doesn't really work for me. And I noticed that my emotional body was really disconnected, like from my physical body and even my mental body. And I didn't know how to articulate it and put it into words. And with homeopathy, which is energy medicine, I really started to heal my emotional body and start to feel my emotions again. I didn't realize I had so much trauma and I was living life in a very numb state, even though I looked happy on the outside, but inside I felt really stale. And in that process, I met Jennifer Longmore, dear friend, mentor, who facilitated an Akashic Record reading on me. And I was like, what is this? I was just blown away. And I kept going to her at the time when she used to do sessions. I kept going to see her. And then I asked her when she was going to teach it. And so I became her very first student in learning the Akashic Records. And amongst, there was a few other students as well. And it did a 180 for me. Like, that was so profound to heal in the Akashic Records, and how it's so different from getting a psychic reading, because I kept going to psychics. But one of the key things was that with psychics, which can still support you if there's guidance, but I kept deferring my power to a psychic to tell me my future versus me creating that, being an empowered participant, being able to be the co-creator in my life. And then I really learned that through the Akashic Records. And then eventually I left my job at the architectural firm, and then started my own healing business. Then following that, I started to get a lot of clients around wanting to know their purpose and their gifts. But at the same time, there was this piece around their sexual energy. I started to see a parallel of, like, whatever happens in the bedroom happens in business. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And I still kept, working with that, and created some programs around sexuality. I had a program called Sex and Sensuality back in 2010 and 11. And then I started DJing. I was self-taught, and then I went to DJ school around 2012 and 13, and was still kind of in the closet about it. And it wasn't until 2017 where I had a dear friend of mine that had a studio, or access to a studio, and just like, you're getting right in there. And it helped me build my confidence and be able to practice more and get more gigs and do events and whatnot. And then, so yeah, it really, the Akashic Records was the foundation that activated, like, everything. And just recently I became a sexologist, because I just found that it's important to really apply the somatic piece to help people in healing their sexual energy, so that they're able to take actions on their gifts.
Oh, what a fantastic journey. And can I just thank you for asking Jennifer to teach the Akashic Records?
I really bugged her.
We owe you one. We owe you one. Because the Soul Journeys method is absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, we both will have many people in our communities that will be going, yes, thank you, Baljit, for asking for that, because it is so fantastic. Oh my goodness, I love your journey, and I completely had forgotten about your architectural background. And do you still do those incredible soul, what did you call them? Those beautiful soul blueprints.
Yeah, these guys. Yes, I have
channel those.
So back in 2009, while I was still working at the architect firm, and I learned the Akashic Records, I also was doing Reiki and teaching Reiki at the time, but I was also open to a lot of these galactic energies and really connecting to them. And I always got stuck doing site planning, and I loved site planning, but I always looked at it as like creating crop circles, because you're always looking at an aerial view of something. And at the time I was so into crop circles, I still am. And all of a sudden I started to channel, and I was supposed to work on a site plan, but I started channeling sacred geometric images. And my coworker who was sitting next to me was like, what are you doing? Because she felt the energy. She felt the transmission. Wow. And I said, I don't know. So for the last hour before lunchtime, I continued working on it. And then I sent it home after work. And when I printed it out, I had this biggest homecoming. And then it did like a future progression instead of a past life progression of what these are, because people can call them mandalas and sacred geometric images. But I was shown that these are called star activations. And the star activations is basically you connecting. We all have connection to our galactic self. And it's about deprogramming the limitations, the blocks, and us reconnecting back to our innate power, our divine power. And so it was my way of connecting to the galactic heritage. And I started to get a lot of people asking for their own personalized star activation. So then I was guided to call them soul blueprints, because the star activation is actually the transmission.
Yeah.
But the soul blueprint is like a blueprint of the soul. So in architecture, we have a blueprint of a building. We also have the blueprint of our soul, like in this incarnation. And then there's a blueprint in other incarnations and realities and dimensions, and the overall blueprint, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, wow. And then when I started to do it, I was given like specific information for that person and for the people in general. And so, and it was very specific. And so I've been doing that for years. And then just like literally last year, my guides told me, okay, it's time to complete that, but transition that into products. So I'm just in the midst of doing a product line to transition that so that people can more so wear it versus just looking at it.
Oh my word, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I need shopping links.
Yeah.
when they're ready.
Thank you. I will slide into your DM.
Yes, slide into my DMs with your shopping links. I would absolutely love it. And we can pop any links underneath this podcast episode as well when you're ready. We'll add that. We'll add them in, because I'm sure everyone will be like, "Oh my word, this sounds amazing." Oh, I love your journey, Baljit, and how everything has evolved, over time. So now you mentioned more recently you've become a sexologist and focusing really on helping people with healing their sexual energy. Yeah. How does, from your perspective, how does healing your sexual energy help people to align to, you mentioned around, their purpose and their gifts?
Mm-hmm. Well, sexual energy, the way that I define it, it's our universal life force. And when people think about sexual energy, they might think more of like the act of sex or like the byproduct of the act of sex. And that's just like one major fragment. The byproduct is, yes, you can receive multiple orgasms and, happiness.
Yeah.
But when the sexual energy is blocked, and if we were to look at our sacral chakra, so that's the area where all, our sexual reproductive organs are, that's our creative energy. If that's blocked, stifled, and, due to many blocks, it could be societal blocks, it could be transgenerational, it could be cultural, it could be religious as well. And for some, they may not even realize that they carry these blocks because they're so ingrained. If we think about societal, like what we were taught in school, like a lot of us didn't really get the proper teachings of our anatomy per se, and then understand how to use that. Right?
Yeah, got none.
Yes. So we've all had to figure it out ourselves, but then either look at porn or look at magazines or like research, but it may not have been the most, I want to say, divine information that's actually serving your highest good. And instead, it keeps you separate. So I always say that, most of us have been programmed to treat our sexual energy as the side dish versus the main dish. And when that happens, and this is what I started to really notice with a lot of my clients, was when that sacral chakra is disconnected or inverted, there's a disconnect in the root chakra, because the root chakra is all about security and well-being. So it goes into insecurity, and that's the piece around prosperity, and feeling safe, right? And if you don't feel safe, then it's hard to create.
Yeah.
And then that creation energy can go into manipulation. And then we have our solar plexus. That's our power. That's how we stand in our power and our truth, our innate truth. When it's reversed or imbalanced, it goes into control. So then those three energies start to play with one another, and then we're not able to move that energy up to our heart. So what happens is that we become disconnected from our purpose because we are disconnected from our truth. And when we embody our sexual power, which to me is the way of connecting to your sexual energy and knowing how to direct it for your higher good, you become very clear with your boundaries, but there's this deep knowingness of your deepest truth of who you are, your existence and your presence. And you've also healed these trauma blocks. And these trauma blocks can be, through sexual violation, but it could be other sorts of violation that has created a block in the sacral or even the other areas as well. So it's really important to connect to our sexual energy, and it's a gentle process, but yet most profound. And then a lot of people literally don't look down at their genitals. They don't see the mirror. I always, one thing it was so profound is if we've got trauma, notice how that shows up in the genitals as well. Is there numbness? Is there pain? Is there irritation? Because that also is a sign of how you show up in the world, and also how you show up in your business. And that was kind of like a big game changer for me. And so that's why I feel like this work is so important. And I work with so many women and men, but women in particular, that are like, okay, I'm finally ready to face this, because I know this is a big piece that I haven't been able to look at since I've given birth, or since I broke up with my partner, or my partner and I together, and like business is going okay, but I know our intimacy is like really lacking. And they're now starting to see the correlation of how that relates to them really aligning to their purpose.
That's so huge. So that piece, just to kind of recap, because there's so much there that you said.
I know, I just kept going.
No, that was just, I imagine everybody's taking notes. Is recognizing that where they are not looking at, their body, the vehicle that we're living in, and their genitals, is recognizing how the trauma can show up in that part of their body as a reflection of, what's going on in elsewhere in their life.
Yeah.
So
and it can be so daunting, right? Like that's a daunting thing for some people to even like look at. But once you reconnect to your genitals, that's your, like, think about it, it's your root in your sacral.
Yes.
And we can't ignore that. And so the shame, the guilt, or that disconnect is based on societal programming, or it's based on cultural programming or religious programming, or it could be past life interference, could be anything. And so once you're able to heal that, then you'll start to reconnect your whole energy body, your physical, your mental, emotional body, and then you're able to really move forward.
That's just huge, because I think people are becoming more aware of, and certainly our listeners will be very aware in terms of everything being energy, and recognizing, those pieces of our energetic system around our, we all talk about our root chakra and our sacral chakra, but then those body parts that they relate to, we hold it in our bodies ultimately. All that trauma, the emotions, the memories, the experiences. So it makes complete sense to do that piece that you're talking about. And isn't it funny how we do have these, we wouldn't think twice about looking in the mirror at your face, because we've been programmed to do that, but a different body part, suddenly there's all these perceptions or anticipated projections about what that could
put a mirror down there, but make sure you relax yourself before you do that. Like, take a few deep breaths and just put a mirror down there and be like, oh, hey, how's it going? Like, how are you doing? How can I support you? And allow the thoughts to come through. Like, I've had women say, oh, I just think it's so ugly. And I'm like, well, how do you feel about yourself overall?
Amazing.
And it's this deep parallel that they actually feel about themselves. Like, it's pretty profound.
That's just so huge. I can really feel that. What would you say then, from your experience, are some of the major sexual blocks that can have a huge effect on people's, on their purpose and being able to express their gifts?
Yeah. So definitely the factors of cultural programming, right? And religious programming. So the byproduct of that is that they're not in their body. So if someone's not in their body, then they're always like disassociating, or just distracting themselves, or keeping themselves busy, or they're always in their head. So it's like they're not really feeling rooted and safe in their sacral and in their root chakra. And because of that, that creates an energy leak. And so the person ends up attracting more dynamics that actually doesn't serve them, because it's this invitation that's like, hey, I've got vacancy here, so come on in. It's not like you really want other tenants to visit, right? So
no.
So it's the accumulation of tentacles that are like tenants per se. And so definitely cultural and religious programming, because it includes the shame and the guilt, and also sexual violation. And it could be not just physical, it could be just energetic, as well, or emotional if someone's experienced that when they were younger, and how that's actually created trauma within their physical body, where they're at a freeze or fawn response, or if they're in a fight or flight response, and then that's how they respond in their business. They'll just continue that way because that programming says, hey, it's not safe. I need to protect myself. So yeah, those are the major blocks that currently have been showing up.
Yeah, that's huge, that piece that you mentioned. I think this is really important, just to kind of highlight what you said there around, it can be a physical sexual trauma, but also an energetic, because our subconscious is picking up stuff. Our heart is picking up stuff. So even if we physically may not have experienced something, we will have experienced the intent.
Yeah. Even if you witnessed it as a child, like your parent as well, it indirectly impacts you so deeply.
Absolutely. Yeah. And other family members as well. It can have a huge impact at that. Thank you so much for highlighting that, because I think it's that piece where people can feel like we should on ourselves, don't we? We shouldn't respond in a certain way because of X, Y, and Z, or it wasn't as bad as so and so's experience or whatever. But that's just more programming to try and kind of disconnect ourselves from what's really happened in our body, and our body's trying to tell us, hey,
100%. Yeah,
this is what's going on. I'd love to hear what kind of results you've seen from all the lucky people that have worked with you in healing their sexual energy, and how they've been able to create what they've wanted to create.
Yeah. So I've had a few women that have like launched and created their own book. It's selling and they're doing amazing. So, and they've been able to share their story and understand their own purpose of like why they're being called to, write a book. I had one woman in particular, and she wrote a book based on her experience of finding out that she was adopted many years ago. And when we were working together, and this was like a few years back, she actually found her birth half brother, who just so happens to be living like close by.
No way.
and met the entire family. So that was a game breaker, because she was doing so much healing and forgiveness, but also reclaiming these parts of herself. And also went through a divorce prior to that. So she was like, okay, I'm going through this divorce, I'm ready to claim my power. And now she's got a whole new family. It's like these pieces came together. So I've noticed a lot of, specifically with the women that I've worked with, a few of them are either in the stages of writing their book because they're ready to share their story, and they know that's the process of sharing their gifts and supporting other people. I have another woman who was guided to start her own chocolate line, and that's been her goal, is working with cacao and infusing essential flower essences in them. So yeah, there's just so much, like people creating their own programs, and even like being guided to move to a different location.
Oh,
because
wow.
there's the fear of moving to that location. And now this person has, and this was a couple years back as well, this person then met her real partner. She left her other partner and now has a child. and is living her dream, like in the Caribbean. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So for everyone, it's so unique and so different. And when we think about purpose, like for some people, in their mind, they think, oh, purpose, like I have to be on stage and I have to be a coach or whatever. But your purpose might be like you're guided to, start your own uh, paddleboard business or something, or it's a clothing line, and there's a gift in that sharing process and why you're doing that and what it does for you. So, yeah.
I love it. There's so many layers to purpose, isn't it? I think
Yeah.
often people will think it's like one thing. I'm like, no, layers come through of our life purposes, which is just such a joy to be able to experience them all. Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Oh, I could talk to you. We'll have to get you to come back to continue our conversation because there's so much here. What would you say are the top 3 tips that you would have for entrepreneurs that are, perhaps beginning to think, oh, this is an angle I haven't explored yet, looking to, heal their sexual energy?
Well, first, journal. Like I feel having a journal with you is really important. And what I would recommend is, get a piece of paper or get your journal out and just draw like a line across the page. And from 0 till your current age, just allow whatever comes up for you with any kind of uncomfortable experiences that you've had with sexual violation or just sexual experiences that were super uncomfortable or traumatic even. And allow whatever needs to come up, because there might be things that you don't remember, but you're going to notice a theme, which each of those pieces from 0 to now. And of course, from 0, you're just a little baby, so you may not remember anything. But for those that are more in tuned to their childhood, they might remember a little bit of something or felt something. So awareness and acknowledgement is very important. And then that next step is like, okay, well, what do I need to support me? Do I need to hire a professional? Definitely hiring someone that is trauma informed or someone that actually understands trauma is really important, especially with sexual energy. I feel like it's such an important piece because in order to de-armor our genitals, like literally, that does require a form of knowledge of working with trauma. And even like somatic healing. Somatic is so profound because that helps with trauma. And so those are some tips there. And then just showing up, I would even set your intentions, like how you want to choose to show up and how you choose your day to be like. So when we don't really allow ourselves to set our intentions, when we first wake up as well, that does create interference and it really invites other energies in where it just kind of distracts ourselves. So
that's some top tips there. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So good. And that piece around intention, it's just incredible when we don't set our intention. What happens? The power of intention is superpower right there, isn't it?
Yeah,
it really is. Oh, Baljit, how can people come and find you? Where do you hang out? Which social media platform can they connect with you? And I know you've got an amazing free gift as well, but tell us all the things.
Yeah. So I'm on Facebook, but I'm more on Instagram. So I am Baljit Rayat. You'll find me more active there. And the free gift, it's an activation. So it takes a journey into your temple, your sacred temple. So it doesn't matter what gender you are, you can just go right in and do some clearing and some cord cutting. It's a beautiful activation whenever you need a tune-up, so that's available to you.
Oh, that's so generous. I really encourage everybody to download that. We'll pop it in the show notes. That's so exciting. And can they see your DJ stuff on the?
Yes. Yes, forgot about that. That's also on my website. So if you go to baljitrayat.com, you'll see music, and that should actually take you to my SoundCloud. So my SoundCloud is under Antakrana. I think it's DJ Antakrana. So ANTAHKARANA. So Antakrana, or go to antakrana.com. So.
Oh, amazing. I love your music. Whenever I see it online, I'm like, yes, she's done another show. So fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. There's so much that you've shared in our conversation today. It's really, really powerful. We'd love to have you back again to continue the conversation. Thank you so much for being you, for all your love and your wisdom, and for making the impact that you're making in the world.
Thanks so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Baljit. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. I would love to hear your reflections on our conversation today. Do, tag us on Instagram or Facebook and let us know that you've listened to the episode and, what your takeaways have been, and share this episode with others, because I think everybody needs to hear this conversation. Thank you, everybody. Until next time, lots and lots of love. Thanks for listening to the Infinite Prosperity Podcast. And if you like what you've heard and want to know more, please go to louisahavers.com. We just appreciate you so much. So thank you for listening and hanging out with us. If there's anything that we can do for you, you can email us at louisa@louisahavers.com. Let my team know if you have any ideas for shows that you'd love to hear or topics you want me to talk about. Really looking forward to hearing from you. All right, that is it for this week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today. Looking forward to connecting with you again. Until next time, namaste.